Gayvid, we can't hear you speaking. You're on mute.
Ah, bloody technology.
Let's do that again.
Tonight's screening is of Ghosts, researched and developed by the Women's Circus, written and directed by Andrea Lemon.
Good evening.
Hello.
Every day, walking beside us are the ghosts of people, places, and things that we thought lost to us forever. Ghosts takes us to an unholy limbo, peopled by wraiths, caught between the real and the remembered, searching for release.
Trademark courage and passion, the Women's Circus brings together over 50 performers in a large-scale production combining aerials, balance, dance, music, and puppetry.
Gayvid, as always, one of the special ones who got out and about when it counted and experienced this show live. Tell us, how was it walking into this giant shed at Docklands back in 2003 where Ghosts was performed?
It was incredibly powerful, actually. Shed 14 was an absolutely cavernous space, not unlike an aircraft hangar. The audience entered through a kind of pre-show set where the first thing we saw was a ute piled up with performers' bodies. We passed through an enormous passageway between the back of the seating bank and a giant patchwork wall of colourful clothing where we were surrounded by more seemingly lifeless bodies suspended from the ceiling.
As the show commences, we, the audience, are asked, what do we believe regarding an afterlife, purgatory, limbo? For context, the performances took place about a year and a half after the Children Overboard scandal. September 11 would have happened at the very early stages of creative development.
And the Second Gulf War literally broke out during the show season.
While watching, and I know that this is my Achilles heel, my need for meaning, I was searching for symbolism everywhere, in everything.
Oh yes, I took great pleasure knowing you'd be suffering, struggling to accept that Ghosts is more a series of vignettes than a running narrative. It was more about finding messages in moments.
I very much enjoyed the cast members' capacity to create a whole range of textured spaces. I was transported multiple times and then crashingly brought back into this detention, holding pen, Groundhog Day space.
It doesn't seem that there was any particular assembly to these different scenes. Occasionally the transitions are somewhat clunky.
What, you mean like Zoom, Gayvid? Gayvid?
Are you frozen? Margay, it sounds like you're faking it.
Whatever. It's not unusual for me.
Oh God. Margay. I think also it's worth noting that this was at a time when the Women's Circus was making large-scale shows every year. There are a lot of seasoned performers on stage.
Yes, I loved the tension, the movement quality, the acting, the absolute commitment from the performers to create a visceral experience.
The piece does create a lot of questions that don't get answered, making the audience search for meaning without resolve. An interesting choice.
You can assume if you two were living in this limbo space that you would be filled with many unanswered questions. A sense of frustration, a feeling of discomfort builds. I wanted to know who's in charge, who's making this unresolved hell unfold. There were also joyous moments of escapism, like the dance party.
I love a dance party.
Gayvid?
I miss the club. I had one and it went away.
I really enjoyed and loved the way they utilised aspects of the physical space that they were in.
When the set becomes of practical physical import to the puppetry and balance scenes.
Up against the back wall, the romantic scenes, oh, I loved those. Gayvid, the second round of isolation here in Melbourne has me nostalgic for a past life.
And the lighting design was first class. Gina Gascoigne is a thoroughly accomplished lighting designer for theatre and, as you'll see during this screening, of Circus 2. Her work was definitely up to her usual standard here.
This piece, well, it's still relatable.
Without giving anything away, there is an attempt to tie it all together in the end with a song of joyful hope, which I personally feel smacked of privilege. I actually wanted to feel dissatisfied at the end, but not in this manner.
One could draw comparisons between the show and world events, how things are unfolding here now. The varied living conditions, the degrees of privilege being dished out.
There's a certain degree of privilege in only relating to those things intermittently over time. For some people, it's been a constant thread. For instance, asylum seekers who have been in a state of limbo for many, many years, possibly even since these performances occurred in 2003.
Shall we rate the show?
From me, 4.5 stars.
4 from me.
That's it from us. If you stick around for the very, very end of the show, you might spot a delicious moment just before the end from a living legend of women's circus. Also, after the show, we'll have our live Q&A with one of the artists involved.
Join us next month as we delve back into the women's circus archives and take a look at another gem from the past.
I can't see anything. It's a very convincing window.
Yes, it's the cityscope from our studio. Can you not see?
Yes, I am.
I even upgraded our flag.
I mean, the flags almost look as though they're moving in the wind, Margay.
I knew I stuffed up something. Look, Gayvid, I'm not going to give up my gay job of art and start acting, so you've got nothing to worry about.
Don't tell anyone I said this, but that was a very good pun, Margay.
That's it from us. Good night.